Hello students, welcome to the class. This is Hemlata Soni and today we are going to read the first part of chapter 3. The name of the chapter 3 is Two Stories About Flying and it contains two stories. First is His First Flight written by Liam O'Flaherty and the second is Black Aeroplane written by Frederick Forsyth. Today we'll read the first part or the first story, His First Flight. So here are the characters. A young seagull, his siblings, he has two brothers and one sister, and his parents. Thus there are 6 characters in this story and the main character is the young seagull. So here I start the text. The young seagull was alone on his ledge. His two brothers and his sister had already flown away the day before. He had been afraid to fly with them. Somehow, when he had taken a little run forward to the brink of the ledge and attempted to flap his wings, he became afraid. The great expanse of sea stretched down beneath, and it was such a long way down, miles down. He felt certain that his wings would never support him, so he bent his head and ran away back to the little hole under the ledge where he slept at night. Even when each of his brothers and his little sister, whose wings were far shorter than his own, ran to the brink, flapped their wings and flew away, he failed to muster up courage to take that plunge which appeared to him so desperate. His father and mother had come around, calling to him shrilly, upbraiding him, threatening to let him starve on his ledge unless he flew away. But for the life of him, he could not move. So here are the word meanings from this para. Ledge, a narrow horizontal shelf projecting from a wall or cliff. Brink, edge. Muster up, gather, plunge, dive, desperate, hopeless, shrilly, sharply, upbraiding, scolding, starve, die of hunger. So the story starts and we find the young seagull sitting alone on his ledge, and he could see his siblings, that were 2 brothers and his sister. They were flying in the air as they had already taken their flight one day ago. Even their wings were shorter than his own. Still they were flying in the air because they were confident with their wings. But this young seagull was afraid that his wings would never support him if he would try to fly. That's why when he tried to go to the brink and flap his wings, he was afraid to fall down in the stretched sea beneath him. So he came back to the hole, to the place where he had slept the last night. So he came back to the place and he was unable to gather his courage and he was hopeless. One day ago, when his parents were teaching his siblings to fly, they came around him and they were calling him sharply, they were scolding him, they were threatening him that if he would not fly, they would not give him anything to eat and he would starve, means he would die of hunger. But still he could not move because he thought that if he would fly, he would try to fly, then he would fall down into the sea. Para 2. That was 24 hours ago. Since then, nobody had come near him. The day before, all day long, he had watched his parents flying about with his brothers and sister, perfecting them in the art of flight, teaching them how to skim the waves and how to dive for fish. He had, in fact, seen his older brother catch his first herring and devour it. standing on a rock, while his parents circled around raising a proud cackle, and all the morning the whole family had walked about on the big plateau midday down the opposite cliff, taunting him with his cowardice. So, word meanings of this paragraph: skim means to move just above the surface. Herring, a soft finned fish. Devour, eat hurriedly. Cackle, sound of birds. Plateau, plain area. Taunting, teasing. Cowardice, one who lacks courage. His parents scolded and threatened him a day ago, and since then no family member had come near to him. And at this time, when the young seagull was sitting alone on his ledge, he could see his parents teaching his siblings how to fly just above the surface so that they could dive into the water to catch a fish. And he saw that his older brother had caught his first soft winged fish and he ate it hurriedly. And when his parents saw that his brother had caught a fish, they were very happy and they appreciated his effort, and they were moving in a circle around him and they were producing cackling sound. And after this, the whole family members were sitting on the opposite big plain area, and as they were teasing him for his cowardice, because he was not trying to fly, he was afraid. That's why it seems to him as they are teasing him, they are taunting him. Next para. The sun was now ascending the sky, blazing on his ledge that faced the south. He felt that heat because he had not eaten since the previous nightfall. Meanings of this para: blazing means shining with heat. The young seagull was sitting still on the ledge and the sun was ascending. Sun was rising, and because of the heat it was unbearable for the seagull to sit there, because already he was tired, already he was hungry, and now the sun was shining brightly, so he was restless. He stepped slowly out to the brink of the ledge and standing on one leg with the other leg hidden under his wing, he closed one eye, then the other, and pretended to be falling asleep. Still they took no notice of him. He saw his two brothers and his sister lying on the plateau, dozing with their hats sunk into their necks. His father was preening the feathers on his white back. Only his mother was looking at him. She was standing on a little high hump on the plateau, her white breast thrust forward. Now and again she tore at a piece of fish that lay at her feet and then scraped each side of her beak on the rock. The sight of the food maddened him. How he loved to tear food that way, scraping his beak now and again to wet it. Meanings of this para: dozing, feeling sleepy. Preening, making an effort to maintain feathers. Hump, high place. Scraped, rubbed. Wet, too sharp. The young seagull moved forward to the brink of the edge, and he was standing on one leg and he had hidden his another leg under his feathers, and then he closed his one eye, then he closed his another eye too, and he shoved as if he was sleeping, and he thought that if he would do so then his family members would come closer to him, but still his family members did not take any notice of him, and he saw that his siblings were sleeping on a plain area and they were keeping their head sunk into their necks, and his father was maintaining his feathers and only his mother was looking at him. She was standing on a high place on that plain area, and his white part could be seen in front, and she was having a fish at the feet. So she was tearing the pieces of the fish, and she was rubbing her beak on the rock now and again. And when the young seagull saw his mother with a piece of fish, this scene maddened him. Maddened means he was mad now because he was very hungry. For a day, for a night, he did not eat anything. So he was thinking that if he would be able to get that piece, because he loved to tear food that way, and he loved to rub his beak to sharp it on the rock. Next para. Ga ga ga. He cried, begging her to bring him some food. Gao kola. She screamed back derisively. But he kept calling plaintively, and after a minute or so he uttered a joyful scream. His mother had picked up a piece of the fish and was flying across to him with it. He leaned out eagerly, tapping the rock with his feet, trying to get nearer to her as she flew across. But when she was just opposite to him, she halted, her wings motionless, the piece of fish in her beak almost within reach of its beak. He waited a moment in surprise, wondering why she did not come nearer, and then, maddened by hunger, he dived at the fish. With a loud scream, he fell outwards and downwards into the space. Then a monstrous terror seized him, and his heart stood still. He could hear nothing, but it only lasted a minute. The next moment, he felt his wings spread outwards. The wind rushed against his breast feathers, then under his stomach and against his wings. He could feel the tips of his wings cutting through the air. He was not falling headlong now. He was soaring gradually downwards and outwards. He was no longer afraid. He just felt a bit dizzy. Then he flapped his wings once again, and he soared upwards. Ga 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 call ah. His mother swooped past him, her wings making a loud noise. He answered her with another scream. Then his father flew over him screaming. He saw his two brothers and his sister flying around him, curveting and banking and soaring and diving. So here are the word meanings of this para. Derisively, mockingly, plaintively, sorrowfully, uttered, spoke, halted, stopped, monstrous, fearful, dizzy, uneasy or uncomfort, swooped, pounced, curveting, move like a horse leap, banking, flying with one wing higher than the other. The young seagull was maddened with the sight of the fish in his mother's feet, so he started to cry like ga 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 as he was begging and requesting his mother to give him some food, and his mother responded like ga call ah as she was mocking him. She was scolding him because he was not trying to fly. But the young seagull was requesting his mother sorrowfully to give him some food, and the next minute he was full of joyful scream as he saw that his mother had picked up a piece of fish and she was coming to him. He was leaning forward eagerly because he was thinking that his mother would come to him and she would give him the piece of the fish. He was tapping the rock with happiness, and he was going nearer to her mother. But when he was just in reach of the piece of the fish, his mother stopped. She stopped to flap her wings and she rested there at a distance. And as the young seagull was maddened by hunger, he dived at the fish. And with a loud scream, he fell outward and downward. He fell from the cliff, from the ledge, and he was going now downwards. Now his heart sank and he was terrorized, and he was thinking that he would fall down and he would die. But it happened only for a minute. The next moment he felt that his wings had spread outwards, and the wind was rushing against his breast feathers, stomach, and now he was flapping his wings and he was cutting the air using his wings. And now he was not falling, but he was soaring. He was soaring gradually and slowly. He was not falling, but he was a little bit uneasy. He was feeling dizziness. But now he flapped his wings once again and he soared upwards. He flew upwards and he spoke ga 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 ga, and his mother was replying ga call ah, and his mother was bouncing past him and her wings were making a loud sound, and they were very happy. And then his father saw the young seagull who was once afraid of flying. He was very happy. He also came and he started to flew over him, and his brothers and sister also came near to him, and they were curveting means they were leaping like a horse, and sometimes they were banking means they were keeping their one wing higher. They were flying and they were soaring and they were diving into the air. Then he completely forgot that he had not always been able to fly, and commended himself to dive and soar and curve, shrieking shrilly. Now the young seagull, who was once afraid to fly, who was not confident with his wings, he was praising himself to fly, to soar, and to curve and to bank. He was very happy. He was shrieking. He was making loud noise. He was near the sea now, flying straight over it. Facing straight out over the ocean, he saw a vast green sea beneath him with little ridges moving over it, and he turned his beak sideways and cawed amusedly. Word meanings: beneath, under, ridges, short waves of water, cawed. Here it is used for the sound of the bird. So now he was flying straight over the sea, and he could see the green sea under him, and he could see the short waves of the water, and he was moving its beak sideways, and he was producing sound, and he was very happy. His parents and his brothers and sister had landed on this green flooring ahead of him. They were beckoning to him, calling shrilly. He dropped his legs to stand on the green sea. His legs sank into it. He screamed with fright and attempted to rise again, flapping his wings, but he was tired and weak with hunger, and he could not rise. Exhausted by the strange exercise, his feet sank into the green sea, and then his belly touched it, and he sank no farther. He was floating on it, and around him his family was screaming, praising him, and their beaks were offering him scraps of dogfish. He had made his first flight. Word meanings: beckoning means signaling to call, fright, fear. So the family was flying high in the air. They were very happy, and soon after that his parents and his siblings, they landed on the green surface of the sea, and they were signaling him, they were calling him to come and land over it. And he came. He dropped his legs to stand on the green sea, but his legs sank into it, and he was frightened, and he attempted to rise again. He flapped his wings, but he was tired because he was already hungry, and he had done a lot of exercise in taking his first flight. So he could not rise, and he left his body motionless because he was exhausted. But as his belly touched the green surface of the sea, he found that he was not drowning. His feet were not sinking into the water, but he had started to float over the surface. His happiness knew no limits, and his family was screaming out of joy, and they were praising him for his efforts, and they were offering him the pieces of dogfish because they knew that he was hungry. After all, the young seagull had made his first flight. So, children, this is the message of this story, that if we are confident enough and we have faith in our caliber and skills, we can achieve anything. We can go through anything, and nothing is impossible then, if we are determined, if we are dedicated to some work. Because whenever we start or we try something new, we are afraid and we think about its failure. But in real sense, we never get a failure. Either we get a victory or a lesson. So children, always try and don't think about its failure. So here are some questions and I hope you'll reply them. Question number 1. Why was the young seagull sitting alone on the ledge? Question number 2. Why did his mother halt at a distance with the piece of fish? Question number 3. Why was the young seagull threatened by his parents? Question number 4. How did his parents react on his first flight? Question number 5. Write the meanings of these words: curvating, banking, planetively, upbraiding, ledge. I hope you'll answer these questions, and other questions you'll be getting in your worksheets. Thank you.